been raining here for nearly a month, and the chickens are hut full of this weather. If you look, the ground is so wet and soggy. So what I've gone and done is that I'm just laying the chickens out to run around on the grass for a while. So let's just chicken sit them to make sure they don't get up to mischief. And these poor little chicks have not really seen the grass here for a while, so I've just brought them out so they can just enjoy some grass instead of the mud that they constantly have at the back there. Absolutely enjoying it so much. Check at them. So while the 4 female chickens are enjoying the grass, we're just going to go and collect some eggs. And as you can see, it is extremely muddy and horrible here, and this is what actually makes our chickens sick. We had this place covered in grass, but the area that this is all in, the grass literally just died. Yeah, so I just want to also introduce you to the new batch of babies, which aren't babies anymore. We're having a really difficult time getting these 3 new babies to be accepted into the first lot of chicken flock. That's, I think they call it a lilac Brahma. I call it a silver Brahma, but she is a pure Brahma, just like Boots, she is actually broody right here. So that is Mommy, and that is Bubba. So that is Tiny, that's Camo. He turned out to be a little boy. And then that one is Shadow, because she is just like Mommy. And they just seem to be on their own mission. They stick together, but they do not mingle with our first lot, because I've just learned that Brahmas do not get along with the other flock, and the other flocks do not like Brahmas. So that's something we learned. But Boots is broody, and we're going to try and see if she's broody. There should be an egg she's sitting on, and there is an egg, and it's just one egg, so I'll take that egg out. And yesterday we did not collect eggs, so that's, I think, yesterday and some of today's eggs. And they're beautiful, healthy eggs. Okay. So check. Got some nice eggs. And then we've got our new lot here that I'm going to introduce you to. We picked them up on New Year's Eve. Decided to get some more chickens, and they are pure Brahmas, females. That one I've named Sophia, and this little one doesn't have a name, so I'm not really sure what we're going to name her. They've not really had human contact, I think, and so we try to come every day, give them some mealworms, give them some love. Right in the beginning you couldn't touch them. Right now we can. They used to hide underneath here. Yeah, so how do you know if your hen is broody? Your hen should show signs of moodiness, like this one. She's moody, and when you touch her, she's got a lot to say, and she'll probably also go for me, you see. Hey. And then also, if you lift her up, you should see an egg under her, which we did see an egg, and I took it out. So take it out if they are not fertile, because she will sit on that egg until it hatches, and in this case that egg will never ever hatch because it's not fertile. and the broodiness can last for up to 3 months. It might take 1 week for her. She's been broody like twice, and the first time she was broody, she actually ended up hatching this lot. So just make sure you do remove any of these eggs. Okay, I turned my back for 1 minute and Jem has already decided that this is where she wants to chill, in the dog box. Look at her. Look, this is my place. Jem, you're going to come out. Do not lay an egg there. Okay, so we spoke about how do you know when your hen is broody. How long does it last? It can last from 1 week to 3 months. We just had our putch cook Clover be broody, and it lasted 3 months. We tried to put her in cold water. We took her out of the coop every single day, and that wasn't helping. But eventually she did snap out of it about 2 weeks ago. So it's just over 3 months that she was broody. What you need to do is make sure that you take your chickens out of the coop, especially if they are broody and you keep taking the eggs away. They will still go and sit on nothing, and they will just sit there. They won't go and eat. They won't even drink water. So what we do is we will take them food, especially things like black lava flies or mealworms, and just feed her while she's in the coop. Put some water there for them. And if it's summer by you and it's really hot, just also try and make sure that you either put frozen water bottles around them, like one big one should be fine, just so that they don't overheat. They can die that way because they will just dehydrate or just not go and drink water. They will just be stubborn and sit in the coop. So it's a little bit tricky, especially if you're not at home and you're working. So what we do is that we do put a frozen bottle of 2-liter water in the coop, and that kind of luck does help. But try and remove them out of the coop as often as you can, so that they get irritated and they'll just walk around the garden and literally moan the whole day. They will go back into the coop and keep sitting, and then you just keep taking them out. So on the weekends, that's what we were doing. On a weekday, because we all work, we would take them out in the morning, and then when we got home, at least we knew that they were eating. So that is some of the tips I can give you for a broody hen. So as a treat, we've got something called mealworms, and they're very easy to farm as well. But that's another story. But right now, this is just like a little meal for them, and they absolutely love it. Hey. What's butter? So the trick now is to actually get to feed the other lot without these guys attacking me. So I'm just waiting for them to all go up on the coop. There you go. So this is what they do. They'll sit there, and I'll be able to feed them that way without the other chickens. Okay, so I've just fed them. I couldn't use both my hands, but they all fed with their treats, and now it's time to give the little babies. So it's quite easy to do the baby chickens because they've got their own little coop, and you'll just see that the other little monsters will be on the other side making a huge noise while I feed these little munchkins. Come, Papa. There you are. I'm still so sure. Come. There you go. Hey. So we've just fed the babies, and they're just so cute. Look at that. Hello. There you go. Look how dirty you are. Hey. Still hasn't got a name. Just where they store their food is in the front chair, their crop, and sometimes you'll see that their crop over here is nice and full, the same as your chickens. So the babies, you need to make sure that their crops are nice and full in order to know that they are eating. And when you pick them up, just make sure that you pick them up on the side there. You're going to turn for me, or at the bottom like this. She's just getting used to me now. So what do you feed your chickens? So for treats, we will give them like kale leaves, spinach leaves. We will give them mealworms, black lava, flowers, and that's just little treats. And on a hot day, we like to buy them a watermelon, cut it open, and let them all just munch on that. They also love things like butternut and pumpkin and squash, but their main meal would be pellets. So we put their pellets in containers. We actually made our own feeder. We raised it off the floor. Come, Dolly, can you move? And this is how the food comes out, and it's these pellets, and that is what they eat throughout the day, as well as their friends, the pigeons, that wait for me to leave, and then they'll fly down and help themselves to everything that's on the floor. The reason we've raised this up is for the pigeons to not get to the food, but then they just eat all the leftovers. What does chickens drink? Well, they drink water. We've got some water in there, but we also put some vitamins in their water and some probiotics or any minerals and that the chickens need to boost their immune system and not get sick. Is chickens worth keeping? Yes, they are. For us, they are definitely worth keeping. Not only do they do so much for us, as in turn our compost, that we've got 3 compost piles here, but they give us great fertilizer, which we then do add to the compost pile, and they provide us with these most amazing eggs that we know is healthy and good, because we feed our own chickens and we give them all the best nutrients that they need in order for us to get the best eggs. And how you know your eggs are really nice and healthier than the bought store eggs is that when you crack the eggs open, the yolk of the eggs are so much darker. It is this rich dark yellow yolk. So the disadvantage of having chickens is that you do have to upkeep their coop, make sure that their water bowls are cleansed, that you at least once a month clean their food containers, because mouse do get a way of getting into their food and their poop can carry diseases. So their coop will also need cleaning, and you can do a deep litter method, which means that you could probably get up to about 3 to 6 months of not cleaning the coop out. But all that poo that sits on the top, you just take it and you throw it in your compost pile. But in our case, we clean it every Sunday and we just top it up with more wood saw or straw. But then their walking ramp that goes up to the coop, we try and keep that clean as well, so that it doesn't get on their feet and we don't want any diseases. So what chickens are the best chickens to actually keep? Well, if you're looking for chickens for meat, I don't have an answer for that, because our chickens are purely for egg. So the best chickens to keep for egg laying is New Hampshire. We have a New Hampshire, and that is her right there, and her name is Gem. She is very, very cheeky and not very friendly when it comes to wanting to hold her. Her personality is basically leave me alone. Then we've got the Rhode Islands. Rhode Islands to me are the best chickens to keep. Jessie and Dolly we've had for nearly 4 years, and their personality is absolutely amazing. They love to be held, they love to be touched, and absolutely sweetie pies. So if I'm in the garden doing something, they are there right by me trying to figure out what they can help with. And then we've got our Putch Cook, who is Clover. Unfortunately, Clover fell ill when we had her as a chick, and she didn't really recover as well as we hoped to. So she's a little bit backwards, but absolutely beautiful. That is her there. And when Clover is broody, she's the one that gets broody for months. So she's just last week come out of her broodiness, and that lasted over 3 months. What do chickens like? Well, chickens like eating most of the time, but what they do love is taking dust baths. So you can see that is Dolly. Okay, look, she's out. So this is Boots. She is broody, and you can hear she's moaning, and she's come down to eat. So that is one thing I like about the Brahma. They actually will come out the coop and actually eat, where Clover, who was broody for 3 months, would just sit there and never come out unless you take her out. So getting back to what chickens like, they absolutely love taking dust baths, and it just helps them with all the mites and lices that might be in their feathers. And yeah, they're absolutely happy if you can give them a little bit of sand so they can take dust baths. So at the end of the day, is it worth getting chickens? Yes. For us, it was definitely worth getting chickens, because we also got the space to actually put them in, and they provide us amazing eggs. Not just that, they're very nice just to have around, and their characters really, really are fun sometimes. So that is Mama Brahma. Hey, Boots. And she's normally very lovable, but because she's broody, she is hormonal and not very pleasant right now. And Brahmas have these beautiful feathers on their feet. So hello. And you can also see that their comb on top of their head is not as profound as the cones on their heads. So that is how you know they're also Brahmas, because of their cones. And if you look at all our other Brahmas, you can see that they are totally separate from the other flock. Their cones on their heads are also very, very small. And that is our male. So that is Camo. That is Shadow. We called her Shadow because when she was a baby, she followed Mom and did exactly what Mom did. So Shadow is her name. And then we called him Camo because the colors on him is absolutely gorgeous. And then the little black Brahma at the back there we called Tiny, because they were all basically born the same time, and she just took ages to actually grow, and she's actually very tiny. So hence the name Tiny. And then we've got our two new Brahmas over here, Sophia and No Name. And once they are old enough to be introduced to the other chickens, we'll let them out. But they probably got another month to be in this coop. They're very tiny still. Do chickens need a lot of space? Yes. If you have more than 3 or 4 chickens, I would recommend some space for them. We don't really have a big space here. We've got our compost bins here with our water tank, and they are actually kept here with our rabbits. So rabbits and chickens get on very well together. They don't fight. They actually, the other day, talking about that, we introduced one of our male rabbits to the other flock of rabbits. I don't think rabbits are flocks. Anyways, we introduced our one male rabbit to the other crew, and there was a bit of a tiff and a fight between the 2 male rabbits, and the chickens actually came running towards them and tried to break the fight up. And then what happened was that the chickens actually gunned for the rabbit that started the fight, and then we haven't had any problems after that. All the rabbits are now getting on together, and the chickens are all loving it. So it's like a really nice harmony with the chickens and the rabbits here. If you have 1 or 2, maybe even 3 chickens, a small little yard will be fine, but I don't recommend just keeping them in a coop locked up. Give them a little bit of space so that they can walk around, and try to give them some grass if possible. They love to get up to mischief, so just make sure that if you've got any herbs or plants that you really love, just make sure that you protect them, because they will make sure that they eat it or uproot it or just basically cause chaos. So that is why in my homestead I've actually got a fence going around my raised beds, because they used it as a dust bath. So yeah, just protect your plants and your crops, because they will get to it. So at the end of the day, we've got these beautiful chickens, and they've literally just brought joy to our lives, and food to our table, and fertilizer to our compost bin, which is right there. So you can see a perfect example of Gem kicking it and basically turning it, and this is actually a great example. So what we do is that we put all our bird and rabbit hay in the compost bin to break down, along with the grass clippings and the rabbit droppings, leaves, branches, anything that can basically break down. So I think this compost bin is called a brown compost bin, but we do put a lot of waste in here, like food scraps and that, because the chickens will just eat the food scraps as well. But you can see what's happened here with all the grass and leaves, that she will obviously go and just poop in it, but also they dig a lot. And what the result should be is beautiful compost. So you can see they've already done it to this bed. There is no straw lying on these 2 beds, because they've already gone and turned it for us. And you can see how this compost bay is just looking. The only thing is that when you see plastic or rubbish, just take it out. So let's talk about the coop quickly. The coop is something that we actually built. We had 2, I think they were like bird cages, and we actually basically converted it to be lifted and did some adjustments inside. So that's their perch, and that's where they all sleep. These perches the Brahmas sleep on, and also they go into these little boxes here. So these 3 boxes were supposed to be for egg laying, which they do, but at night the Brahmas like to sleep in this area because the other chickens all sleep there, and as I said, they don't get on with the other chickens. Also, they like to be elevated up, so you'll see that everything is on the top here, and at the bottom is where their food and water is, and they do have a ramp that goes up to their sleeping place. And then we've got some air vents also all around here, and needs a nice clean, and then just a roof to keep the rain out. So it's been raining for over a month here, and you can see how dry it is in this area, but over here it is all wet and soggy, like really horribly muddy wet, and they are all nice and dry in their little place here. Just make sure you got grey air vents around, and you can see we've actually put a board on this side and over there, so that if it does rain hectically, that their food doesn't get wet and the wind can be broken. What not to give your chickens. The no-no is, to me, what I've learned, avo is a big no-no. We don't give avo to any of our animals. Onion is another no-no that we don't give to the animals. I also thought tomato was a no-no, but apparently you can feed tomatoes to your chickens, but we just choose not to do that. Okay, what happens if your chickens get sick? We've had, right in the beginning when we actually first got the chickens, our chickens fell sick, and we don't know if it was pox or what exactly, but what happens is that their eyes start swelling up, and it's mostly from the mosquitoes. The mosquitoes will go and try and find moist and liquid, and a chicken's eye carries that, so they'll go and sit by their eyes, and that is when the disease is basically passed to the chickens, and they get swollen eyes, and you can hear it in their chest, and it's actually really sad to see sometimes. But if you catch it on time and you start treating it, then thank goodness you'll be able to save your chickens. So right in the beginning we actually had we actually had Clover, and if you actually look at her eyes, you'll see that her eyes are still very puffy and swollen, and that's 3 years later. She had it really bad when both her eyes were basically infected and closed up, but we treated it, we made sure that we gave her love, and she actually, we thought she was going to die, but she survived it. So if you catch it very early, you'll be able to help your chickens out. One tip is that when your chickens do get sick, they probably were sick probably a week or 2 weeks prior. So birds show their symptoms very late, so they could be carrying the symptom, but you'll only notice in the next week or two, and that is why we just make sure that we put some vitamins in their water, and that they get treats now and then. But also every single day, just make sure that you go and check up on your chickens, especially their eyes, and just make sure that when they are breathing, you don't hear any water on their lungs. So that is some tips that I can give you in preventing your chickens getting sick. And there is an example that I can show you, little tiny eye, and I don't know if I can get that side, but yeah, you can see her eyes closed there, and she's just got an infection in her eye. We've been treating it and cleaning it with rooibos tea as well, and it just looks a little bit better than the other day. So that was just a quick tour of our chicken coop and our chickens, and to me it's an absolute pleasure keeping chickens. I absolutely love them. They're in an area where my rabbits are, and they get on very well. So these were just a little bit of the tips that I could provide from experience, giving it to you guys. I hope this video was worth watching, and please give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.